Hello from Portland, Oregon. It's day 16 of Road Trip 2010. I find it interesting to note the differences of what inspires us. I'm posting this from the heart of downtown Portland, Oregon, and I couldn't feel any less inspired. I'm not saying that Portland is a boring city, void of creativity. It's quite the opposite, actually. There are all types of creativity in this place. Galleries on every block, performers on every street. In fact, there was a small riot just outside our hotel yesterday. What I'm saying here is that inspiration comes to all of us in different ways at different times. I have found great inspiration within the limits of America's great cities, just not today, and just not here in Portland. Perhaps the reason is a result of the land I've traveled and the sights I've seen during the past 16 days. I've literally made hundreds of photographs while traveling thousands of miles. I've seen phenomenal natural wonders and made record of it in creative ways through the lens of my camera. I have walked in complete solitude for hours and experienced quiet like only the wilderness can provide. I have also stood among the masses watching the eruption of Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park, driven beside wild bison during the early morning wildlife commute, and slept in hotels that were cheap for good reason. The point is this: we all go through moments in our lives where inspiration wanes. It's these moments when we need to buckle down and do the work, trace back through our notes of lush ideas and vast fields of inspiration, and wrap up the loose ends of our incomplete projects. Or just go for a walk with your camera, as I did this morning. During this walk, I happened upon a small corner of Portland that inspired me to make photographs. These images were of a public sculpture, quite ugly actually in its own right. However, by shooting it up close, basically dissecting it of its parts, I was able to make new objects, those of the photograph, and peer into the corner of Portland in a way I found inspiring. Well, it's been a great trip so far. Thea and I have traveled over 2,000 miles through national parks, national forests, and remote areas. So sorry for the delay in posting. It's been a while. In fact, day 9 was the last time I posted a video. It's just that Yellowstone offers very little internet access, and the space between there and here was much the same. Since we left Jackson, Wyoming, and the Teton Range, and the last time I posted, we've camped just outside Yellowstone National Park, in a place called West Yellowstone. This place is literally 3 blocks and entirely funded by visitors to Yellowstone Park. I have to say, I was a bit disappointed by Yellowstone, mostly due to the crowds. All the hype leading up to going into that park maybe was part of the problem. It's like seeing a new movie or hearing about it and how good this movie is, and then finally seeing it and being a little let down. That's how I felt about Yellowstone. From my perspective, 90% of the visitors treat the park as a tour by car attraction, with hordes of people gathering at key sites throughout the park. Admittedly, I did not give the park a fair chance, not traveling into the backcountry due to the warning of high grizzly bear activity, just being out of hibernation and all. But to protect the special places that make up this park, the geysers, the meadows, and the rivers, visitors have to walk an extensive network of boardwalks throughout the park. To me, it felt more like a Disneyland attraction than a wilderness. While in the park, I made some photographs that I'm very happy with, and my personal favorites are the series of landscapes captured from the bacteria that form around the hot springs. From Yellowstone, we made our way into Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Thea and I loved this place. It is full of great galleries, artists, and the wonderful spirit of Idaho. We then made our way into Spokane, Washington, one of my favorite cities thus far along this trip. It's the rivers, the water, everything coming into that city. There's something about it that just I really enjoyed. We stopped at a historic park and we made our way through these neighborhoods just outside of the main downtown. And it was just great. All these brick houses, small, unique, really neat neighborhoods. We then drove nearly 500 miles until we reached Hood River. It's a small town at the base of Mount Hood, situated right on the Columbia River. This place is nationally known, apparently, for its wind and kite surfing and offers a very quaint community feel. There was all these people gathered outside having ice cream and flying kites, and we could see from our perspective all these kite surfers out on the Columbia River. From there, we had a quick grocery stop in town, and then we headed into the forest along Highway 26 until we reached our camp at this place called Little Crater Lake. As we were approaching this place, we rounded a corner, and there she was in all her glory, rising out of the trees. Mount Hood seemed too marvelous to be real. I mean, it's like you see it as you come around this corner, and it just strikes you. And it's like it was probably the most amazing mountain that I saw along this trip. I mean, the Tetons are vast and enormous, and they're incredible, but you kind of approach them from a distance, so they're small at the beginning. Mount Hood's very different. There's nothing else around it but trees, no other mountains, and you come around this corner not having seen it at all, and then all of a sudden it's like right there. You don't see it until you're right underneath it. It's huge. Hood seemed more marvelous to me, and it was almost too marvelous to be real. I mean, chills ran down my back when I rounded this corner on Highway 26. My eyes were wide open. Pulling over was all I could do to prevent driving off the road. I made a few photographs just before the storm rolled in, and then Mount Hood disappeared, and we never saw her again, as the clouds remained until we drove toward Portland. But wow, what a spectacular view it was. From here in Portland, we're headed down Oregon's coast to a destination undetermined at the moment, eventually making our way to Patrick's Point State Park in California, where we'll be just 5 hours from home.